The Supreme Court will hear arguments this morning in two pivotal cases challenging the consideration of a student's race in college admissions. The cases involving Harvard and the University of North Carolina could end affirmative action as we know it at public and private schools across this country. Now, the recent polling shows that 74% of Americans oppose affirmative action. Majorities across all racial and ethnic groups say that race should not be a factor when it comes to getting into a college. Jan Crawford talked with students on both sides of this debate. Jan, good morning. I can't wait to hear what people are saying about this one.
This is going to be a huge case, Gayle. I mean, obviously, the Supreme Court has gradually chipped away at affirmative action over the years, but these cases could outlaw any consideration of race in college admissions, even if the schools like the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which we visited, say it's crucial for diversity.
At the nation's oldest public university, a debate over the future of affirmative action. Jacob James is head of the College Republicans at the University of North Carolina.
Everybody should get a fair shot, and affirmative action says that no, some people will be advantaged and other people will be disadvantaged based on the color of their skin.
I think it's more important now than ever.
Julia Clark is president of the Black Student Movement.
I don't think there is ever a time where we won't need affirmative action or we won't need to talk about race in every system that we have in this country.
Those arguments go to the heart of the two cases challenging affirmative action. The court has scaled back affirmative action over the years, outlawing quotas and numerical goals, but it has allowed a limited consideration of race to promote diversity.
No more silence!
But the newly conservative court could now decide that any consideration of race at all is illegal discrimination, whether at a private university like Harvard or a public one like UNC, where minority enrollment is already low. African Americans are about 22% of the state population, but only about 9% of the student body is black. Civil rights lawyer Damon Hewitt is representing the university.
When you think about a world without affirmative action, think about what our workplaces will look like, what our schools would look like. America is stronger when we actually fully embrace our diversity.
Many of us far surpassed the admission requirements set by Harvard and other colleges just for us to be rejected.
Many students who oppose affirmative action, like Calvin Yang, support diversity. Yang is also backing the lawsuit against Harvard, where Asian students argue they are held to much higher standards than white or other minority applicants. He says schools should focus on giving more opportunities to lower-income students.
If you're economically disadvantaged, you should get a boost, rather than just arbitrarily looking at the ethnicity, the last name, the skin color of a particular applicant.
Yang, a student at the University of California at Berkeley, was rejected by Harvard despite top grades and test scores. But at Cal Berkeley, admissions officers are prohibited from considering race. California voters in 1996 banned affirmative action and in 2020 refused to reinstate it. 8 other states also ban it in college admissions. The legal effort to undo affirmative action has been spearheaded by one man, conservative activist Ed Bloom. He recruited students to challenge the policies at UNC and Harvard.
You can't remedy past discrimination with new discrimination. For those who have suffered from preferences for whites, the remedy is not preferences for African Americans or Hispanics.
But for the students, the issue goes beyond diversity to the very question of how they think about race.
Race was an important consideration in somebody's character at the beginning of the nation, and it was wrong then and it's wrong now.
But Clark says race will always be a part of America.
I think being colorblind assumes that we are all the same and that we have the same experiences and that we have the same obstacles as well, when we don't.
Now, because there are different legal questions for public and private universities, the court could reach different outcomes. Another key difference, new Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson will only participate in the UNC case because she is recused from that Harvard case. She served on one of its boards. Nate?
Jan, thank you so much. Our eyes will be on this case, that's for sure.